Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at this Kawasaki Z650b in candy apple green, the only colour to have a V1. What the problem is an oil leak down here, with occasional smoking of the engine as well. And while we're at it, we're going to lock tight the carb screws, because one of the things we're noticing out on runs is that they come undone. Z Power have taken a fair bit of cash off of me. I got the generic gasket set, full engine, but this is a hopefully once only job. I really went to town, splashed out, bought the genuine Kawasaki head gasket and seal, and these are the seals that we're hoping have gone. I've got good compression across all cylinders, so I'm quite happy with that. They've got the exhaust off. I'm going to try and leave it there actually, rather than take the whole thing away and you know, split it up. That's the idea anyway. Some of you may have noticed, eagle-eyed, the coils. You've got a full Dynatech electronic ignition on this, which is absolutely excellent. Highly recommend it. So first look at the cams. Got the cam cover off. Just going to make a note of all of the numbers, but first I'm going to check feeler gauges under every single one, make sure that we're all at the correct setting. And there's the Dynatech ignition system. Quick question, is this the sort of slack I should expect on an engine cam chain? It's supposed to be adjusted. Engine is cold, obviously. Just seems a bit much to me. I've got the head off. I don't want to turn it upside down because I don't want to lose all the buckets and shims, so sorry about that. Here you can see I've laid out the cams with all the caps. Try my best to keep them in the right order. And now for the money shot, the head gasket. Now, you guys tell me, is that an original? Has that been there since the Queen's Jubilee? I don't know. Doesn't appear to be blown, although it does feel a bit as though it's kind of delaminated. It's beginning to separate between layers. And these oil seals, well, that one's not too bad, but that one, the leaky side, is incredibly tough. There's, yeah, it's gone hard. This one is better, but not great. Could that be it? Hope so. Giving everything a good clean, can't see any cracks or damage to the head or anything like that. So I think we're going to go for a rebuild and see how we go. I'm just relying on the fact that that oil seal was quite brittle, and that that was the cause of the problem. So I'm just putting the head back on slowly, just using a little bit of rag down where the cam chain lives, just to stop me dropping anything down into the bottom part of the engine. And let me quickly show you how I've laid everything out, so I hopefully don't make any mistakes. Piece of cardboard, I've laid the cams out, exhaust and inlet, and laid the caps down there on each cam as well. Hopefully then I don't get them muddled up on the rebuild. And looking at the old gasket again, it's definitely delaminated, and you can see the old head nuts there. I've taken those off. They're a little bit scruffy looking, and I've gone for the more chrome acorn type finish. Here's how they look on the head, much tidier. So next job now is to torque down the head following the correct sequence and see where we go from there. So we've got the head on, it's torqued down in the correct sequence. The cams are in and the caps are torqued down, facing the correct way on the correct numbers. The engine is timed up. We have counted the links on the cam chain. So now we are going to make a start by giving the engine a turnover by hand. Okay, we've got a serious problem. We've got good compression on number one cylinder, but nothing on anything else. So where is all that compression going? I fabricated a little gadget here out of an old spark plug in order for me to get some compressed air into the cylinder, and what I'm finding is that I'm getting leaks out of the exhaust and or inlets. So clearly there is something wrong with the valves. Been waiting in all day today for this so that I can continue with the job. We have got a valve spring compressor, so we can get those troublesome valves out and have a little look. Oh, thank you Amazon. €16 and 24-hour delivery. Absolutely brilliant. Let's give it a go. Well, I've got it out. It ain't bent. The spring is all intact. Everything seems absolutely fine. I maybe just clean it up a bit, the carbon, but you know, it's perfect all the way around the valve seal and the valve stem. There's nothing to suggest there's any blow by at all. So I'll check them all, maybe just give them a cheeky lap in, but it's getting on a bit tonight, so come back tomorrow. What we're going to do today is just give the valves a tiny grind into the seats. We're not going to do much at all. I mean, I think that this is looking pretty good, but we're just going to roughen it up and see if we get a better seal. Okay, we're just going to refit the head to see how that works out. We haven't ground in the valves exactly, we've just decoked everything to make sure there's a good seal. The other thing that I'm trying is making sure that all of the valves have plenty of oil in them, because I was just wondering whether before they may not have been full of oil and it might have been caused some stickiness. I don't know, but that's what I'm going for. Morning, so we're back at it again. I've put the exhausts on. The way I tackled it was separated the system out into basically its component bits. I put on number 2 first, got that all set up. Then I put on just the number 1 pipe, and then on the other side, similar process, separated the 2 headers out down here, put number 3 on, connected it underneath, as you know, and then number 1. We've got the standby fuel on and some easy start, so we're going to see if we can get some life out of it. There's a bit of a racket coming from the cam, so I'm not at all happy with the chain or the setup there, so I'm not going to let it run for very long. It seems to be making a right racket. Back inside familiar territory here. So we had so much slack here that was actually spinning free. What I've done is I've retorqued this down, and I also got onto the cam chain, the tensioner. I slackened off the locking bolt, turned the engine over a couple of times, and then you could start to see the slack coming out of the chain. And now I've retightened the cam chain tensioner bolt back into position, and we've got a nice tight chain. So I'll just turn it over by hand a couple more times. I'm sorry I can't show you this, but I don't have a stand for the phone, and trying to do, just haven't got enough hands to do it all. But that was the problem. I torque down on this, slacken off the cam chain tensioner, turn it over, let it take up the slack, then tighten it back up when it's nice and tight. I think that's much better. Welcome back to the classic Kawasaki Z650b, the gift that keeps on giving. Today we have found that number 1 carburettor, after the engine has been running and you shut down, it overflows with petrol. I took the float bowl off and reset the float level on that, hoping that I'd cured the problem, only for the rest of the carburettors to join in the petrol pissing competition. Still on the subject of carburettors, the vacuum gauges have also arrived from Amazon. That will allow me to set the correct airflow on each of the carburetors on the idle circuit. I shall be doing that later. And then turning to the front of the bike, I see no sign of any oil leak from the cam covers or from the original head gasket leak, but I'm just going to clean the front of the bike up with a little bit of solvent on a toothbrush so that we can check for oil leaks. Okay, the adjusted number 1, it was slightly lower than the others, and it's just number 4 needs a tiny bit of adjustment as well. So I'll do it the same way as I did 1. Slacken off the lock nut, use the screwdriver to turn this top piece until you get the correct result that you want on the vacuum gauge. Tighten up the lock nut, put the cap back on. And we're back. Balancing of the carbs went well, so I think we've got the correct vacuum set up now. The bike is back together, and actually we're about 5 weeks later, a lot going on, be back to the UK and stuff. What I want to do now is just set the mixture correctly on the carburetors. They're balanced and they've stopped leaking, and what I'm going to do is use a Gunson's colour tune. Basically this bit replaces your spark plug, and you look down it, you see it's slightly opaque, and you can see the colour of the spark. And what you want to do on idle is move it from yellow to a more blue colour. So that's what we're going to do next. The piece I showed you replaces the spark plug, and then you connect this extension to it, and then you put on this cover, and that enables you to see down into the combustion chamber. As you can see, we've got quite a yellow flame, and we want it to turn to blue. So we just adjust the mixture until it starts to spark blue. There, it's getting better. Less orange, more blue. Just so it changes. You got the gist, I think we're there. So the first attempt with the mixture gave us a mixed bag of results, running from rich on 1 to lean on 4. So what I'm going to do is use the same technique and equipment again, and just to lean off 1 and slightly richen up 4. And I think the ideal I'm looking for is probably plug 3. And I'm going to keep fine tuning this until I get a nice consistent colour of spark plug. Hopefully you'd have watched the video where we take the Kawasaki on a ride out. But in order to bring this particular video to a conclusion, let's see if she'll start. Fingers crossed. Wow, first time. Thanks very much for watching.